This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Jason Glick, what's going on? You're the podcast. It's named after you.
Yes, as it has been for quite a
Yeah,
while now.
yeah, absolutely. So what do you have on tap tonight?
All right, so this is something that I hadn't specifically planned for, but then when I realized that, hey, wait a second, this is a series that is finished up. I should probably talk about it, like on the podcast. And that is Wonder Woman Earth One by Grant Morrison and Yanick Paquette. For those of you unfamiliar with DC's Earth One series, it's basically a continuity-free multiverse or like multiverse-free reboot of a character spearheaded by a specific creative team. Prior to Wonder Woman, we've had takes on it's like on Superman, Batman, Teen Titans, Green Lantern, but Wonder Woman it's like has been like particularly notable in the sense that it's basically features an A-list creative team, specifically Grant Morrison. It's like and his freaking artistic collaborator Yanick Paquette, like who have not tackled the character previously, because he's written Wonder Woman before. It's like in the pages of JLA, but he's not actually tackled her. It's like on an ongoing basis. So basically, for him like to get carte blanche to reinvent the character for like this like continuity free reboot, it's kind of a big deal, or at least it was like way back when this volume 1 launched in it's like in May of 2000 of excuse me of 2016. Yes, this is like quite a while ago. It's like, and that's kind of my problems with this series. But to establish things, the first volume, it's almost kind of like a Disney princess style take on Dinah of Themyscira. It's like it starts off with it's like on the very first page with Hercules. It's like I'm bringing your mother Hippolyta to his knees, basically saying like, yeah, now like you're going to be like my woman. It's like, and I'm going to like rule over all you people, all human all. So I can show you like what man's world is like. And naturally, it's like Hippolyta is having none of that, and she's able to defeat Hercules, and in doing so, Usher like realizes that day, it's like the only proper world that we can have is like one that is like that is female centric and one run by only women. So she takes all the survivors and decamps to Paradise Island, where they live for like the next 3,000 years, where she also like raises her daughter Diana, from clay, as is like the traditional like origin of Wonder Woman. At least that's what we're told initially. But once you know it, Diana, she's got this rebellious streak, and she wants to like know more about like the world outside. It's like, and she doesn't just want to be. It's like like the like just like her mother's daughter who was born of clay and just has the specific role to play within this society. And then she gets her big break when a plane from Man's World crashes on Paradise Island, and she rescues this man, Steve Trevor, who in a big change from like previous incarnations of the character is African American as opposed to white. So while she tries to heal him, she realizes that she can't do that, and she needs the medicine of Man's World in order to do this. So after defeating one of her sisters in like in traditional combat that she is supposed to lose, she winds up getting the not quite the permission, but the means to leave Paradise Island and go to Man's World, and like basically to save Steve Trevor, but also realize that, my God, this is a horrible backwards place. It's like where it's like where women are left to die. It's like in hospitals. It's like because like Man's World's medicine is not as advanced as how it is on Paradise Island. It's like in how like men will like initially will always go to like resort to violence as the first resort rather than the last resort when it comes to like solving problems, which is why she's greeted with the United States Army. It's like when she like brings Steve to a hospital, and they wanted like, hey, we need to come back here to answer some questions. And well, she fights back and all, and realizes that hey, this world is like not worth my time. But on her way back, she rescues a group of sorority girls, the Beta Lambda girls, and who one of their members is old time Wonder Woman ally Etta Candy, like in reimagined here as a energetic plus sized girl. It's like who's got the energeticness and positivity. It's like to convince Wonder Woman that hey, maybe there is like another way to it's like to attack this, to help this world. It's like woo, woo, as she's prone to going. So it's like she shows Wonder Woman that that there's some there's more to like man's world than she was initially shown. That there are some like positive aspects to it, and that it's like hey, it's like maybe she can like help the things out here. But then Wonder Woman's like Hippolyta also sends like the Gorgon like to like frighten Wonder Woman coming back and all. It's like, and by the end of the volume, it's like, well, it's like she's kind of been given like she's convinced her mother that maybe like helping out man's world is a worthy endeavor. And well, it's like, and volume ends with her like just arriving on the scene to do just that. And if you're thinking, well, wait a second, so like the first volume is basically like Wonder Woman just convincing her mom to let her go and help man's world. Well, okay, that's fine, but that's kind of like more of an act one than like a volume one. Had it been a proper volume one, we've gotten like a good, solid, self-contained, like story here that basically like had like a nice like nice like selection, nice arc of like it's like a rise, fall, and climax. But here it just kind of feels like the setup to the stories that Morrison and Paquette we're going to tell like as they go on. It's more like a volume 0 than a volume 1. I mean, yeah, it's entertaining in the sense that like Morrison, it's interesting to see Morrison reincorporate like some of Wonder Woman creators William Moulton Marston's more out there ideas, in the sense that like he was big on bondage, and Morrison like reinterprets that as the women on Paradise Island are big on like submission to a living authority, in the sense that it's like you're like like authority is going to love you and all, but you've got to like say yes, I want you to dominate me, and that is kind of like a big ass right there, especially when Wonder Woman like basically positions this to Steve. It's like with the spiked collar, and he's kind of like, "The hell are you talking about, woman?" So, look, he doesn't actually say that, but it's interesting to see him like do this, and it's also like one of the few Wonder Woman stories to openly acknowledge that yes, this is like a island full of lesbians who like have no need of men in their life as well. And like as it's just like something that is true throughout the next two volumes, that Paquette's art is thoroughly amazing. Yeah, he might get a bit too arty with how the panel borders are delineated, because he's very fond of like non-standard straight borders, but he loves to use Wonder Woman's lasso as like a very fluid border between the panels. So it can be kind of maybe a bit tough to read at times, but the level of detail and the overall dynamism that he brings to the art like is something that is like constant throughout each of these volumes. And basically, if you like looking at like great art that tries to like push the boundaries, then yeah, it's like you're going to want to read all 3 volumes, but just based on that alone. As for the story, well, the big problem with these 3 volumes is that this is a series that really should have been published in 1 volume. I realize that's kind of a big ask, considering like how busy like its creators can be, like how in demand they are. But Wonder Woman Earth 1 volumes 1, 2, and 3 basically don't read as volumes 1, 2, and 3. They read as acts 1, 2, and 3 of an overarching story. Like volume 1 is basically Wonder Woman realizing that she doesn't want to stay on Paradise Island for the rest of her life, and she wants to go to Man's World and help bring the message of Paradise Island to the women of Man's World at large. Volume 2 is basically her doing that, but also like encountering resistance in the form of the rulers of Man's World, the military. It's like, and also specific other specific bad actors like Leonard Zako, the the villain known as Dr. Psycho in the main style DCU, here re-envisioned as a callous pickup artist, and and Maxwell Lord, who, well, if you've seen Wonder Woman 1984, then you kind of know who, you kind of get a kind of an idea who he is, but he's like the psychically powered industrialist who basically formed the Justice League back in the 80s, but also it's like, wanted to control the world himself as well. And it's also worth noting that Wonder Woman snapped his neck. It's like in the lead up to a final crisis as part of like a multi-issue arc called Sacrifice, in her, like, between her title and Superman's titles. And it's like, and also there's the Spectre of Ares, like the god of war, who who's been positioned in past Wonder Woman stories as one of her key antagonists. But to say more about how Ares figures into the story, he's like war incarnate. He's like the big bad in that regard. But as far as like how Morrison tries to mix him in here, I think it's really clever in the sense that that the writer basically goes, hey, it's like, why can't Ares and this other guy be the same person? I won't say any more than that, but clever people will probably be able to figure out how that goes. But that kind of leaves Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 2 is kind of like the the redheaded stepchild of these volumes, in the sense that it's basically like Diana coming to Man's World, spreading the good word of like her message, and being undermined by the people of Man's World who don't want her to succeed, as well as introducing Paul von Gunther, the Nazi Superwoman who tried to invade Paradise Island, but wound up having to submit to living authority. It's like after the Amazons soundly defeated her army's efforts, and like the twin threats of like her and Zako, what they kind of represent, they're both interesting. Zako's more than von Gunther's, but it still kind of feels like we didn't get enough time here in order to like really like flesh out their respective threats. It's like, because by the end of the volume, both Zako and von Gunther have been dealt with. Like, even after they've both kind of pretty much accomplished their aims, and it kind of feels. And so by the end of the volume, where Wonder Woman is basically established as like the new Queen of the Amazons, it kind of feels like, okay, we're kind of like rushing things here, aren't we? It's like we needed like Dinah's ascension, which just kind of feels more like a matter of circumstance driven by plot, than something that truly felt earned, like in light of the actions of the actors in this volume. So like at the end of volume 2, I was kind of like worried that like Morrison was kind of like gonna maybe kind of wrap things up overly quickly. It's like at the end, but well, Volume 3 took a long time to come out, because it only came out about a couple months ago, and had it come out say 1 month later, it's like it would have been like 5 years between Volume 1 and its conclusion in Volume 3. Volume 3, however, I do think is a solid finale to the series, even as it splits its time between the far future of Paradise Island, because it starts off by telling us that the scenes we're seeing initially are arc, or 1,000 years later. It's like basically like the Amazons won, but it's that we're now 1,000 years in the future, and well, it's like, how did we get there? That's kind of the question. And also, like how are the Amazons, how is Diana and the rest of the Amazons dealing with this, like, new female centric society that is also like still being plagued by men who realize, what it was meant like to be men back in the day. And well, that's this volume 3 like offers like does set up a lot of interesting setups, because it basically has Diana just like investigating, what does it what is it going to take in order for like for the for them to overtake man's world and deliver a world where everyone is like happy with like how things turn out. Because while it's like Morrison is like basically arguing for a female centric world, like over the course of these 3 volumes, it's like he takes pains to spell out in volume 3 that it's not something where like it's like the women win and the men lose. It's just like the women win and we all are better as a result. It's like that's something that's kind of, I think it's kind of key here. It's like, and I think it's kind of lost on maybe some of the critics of this volume, because it's like Morrison is arguing like, hey, giving like the world a more like female centric perspective is like, hey, it's like it's not just like like the men lose, like everyone wins. We're all better as a result. And you know what? I think that's great. And I think that the way he presents things here like really kind of works. I mean, when it's like when the when it's like when the governatrix of of the world is threatened by a male suicide bomber, it's like, well, she's not about to snap his neck in order to preserve the status quo. No, she just basically she talks to him. She basically asks him like, well, why do you feel this way? It's like, and this guy, it's like, she just kind of like talks him out of like, it's like out of being a suicide bomber. It's like, and I really like that approach right there. It's like I do enjoy what he says here. It's like, and also it's like it's telling that by the that in the final portrait of like who's running Amazonia, it's like the end. Well, we also see like von Gunther and Zico like as part of the ruling council. So it's not just like they were just discarded and like dealt with as villains are, but like they were like they were eventually like redeemed. It's like, and basically added to it's like their perspectives were they eventually came around to realizing that, hey, this approach means we all win. And of course, like there's also like lots of like fighting and all, because Ares it's like has he's been like pulling a man's world strings all this time, because God of War and all. It's like, and we get like some really impressive like fight scenes. It's like as he unleashes his mechs of destruction. It's like on Paradise Island, and also like in the initial act, and also when he brings like Mark II like giant mech to try and destroy the island, but in the end like Diana has has her own way to to disarm him. So overall, it's like I enjoy these volumes. I think that that they read much better like in one go, as opposed to say if you read them all like when they came out. And I think and I can appreciate what Morrison was trying to do here, but I think that that the writer's approach to doing this was kind of like hamstrung by the format. I mean, like 3 volumes over 5 years. I mean, it's even like a hard task to keep, unless your series is like utterly transcendent. It's kind of a hard. It's a big ask to ask your audience to remain invested. It's like when your publishing schedule is like this tragic. So, but now that since like all 3 volumes are available in print, I'd say it's like, yeah, go ahead and buy them. Maybe you can feel free to go ahead and wait until volume 3 is in paperback, or maybe wait and see if DC releases an all-in-one volume for this series, which I think would be the ideal way to experience this series. I mean, yeah, it's got some pacing issues as far as how the story is spread out over several years, but overall, it's like I think the message it's telling and the way it was told are entertaining. It's like and worth your time. And also, it's like, hey, if you like good art, then yeah, it's like definitely pick this up. So yeah, it's like this is I recommend this, and
Sounds like a pretty solid recommend then. But I'll in obviously in the cheaper volume maybe.
either wait, either like if you want to buy them now, cool, but you can also just wait until like Volume 3 hits paperback and get all three of them at once. Or I don't know if DC is going to reprint all of these in like an all-in-one edition, which would be the ideal way to read this. But who knows? We'll see.
Possibly. Is this available like as a download or online? Like I don't know if there's some equivalent to like I don't know, like Comixology DC, something like that. No?
Oh, you can buy these digitally, no problem.
Digitally is what I meant to say. Imagine that. So, all right, sounds interesting. Do you know what you're going to be talking about next week, sir?
Oh man, it's like this is like a rare time when I'm kind of like spoiled for choice as far as like what's coming next, because let's see, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, the final volume is arriving in the mail. It's like I've got Outcast by Paul Robert Kirkman and Paul Azaceta. It's like the final volume is like on my to read list. I have the final volumes of Bendis's Superman. It's like as well, and what else? It's like and then there's it's like the Hellfire Gala is spinning up an X-Men, so maybe that will happen by the time I get through all this stuff. Oh, and then there's also King in Black, which I'm gonna have to rope Myron in to talk about, because it's Venom centric, so we need his like expertise on this as well. So yeah, it's like I got plenty of stuff I want to talk about. It's just like we'll as far as what happens next week, well, you'll have to be surprised.
All right, we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters.